So the first point that I'm going to talk about is about being on a path of self-awareness, being on our own path of healing and awakening, because we can only take somebody as deeply in their own journey as we've been ourselves. So unless we do the work, it's going to be a more superficial healing that we can actually hold space for. And the more authentic work we do on ourselves, spiritual growth, healing, awakening, cleansing the chakras, cleansing the energy field, doing shadow work, being vigilant, looking out for our blind spots, being radically honest with ourselves, as well as retrieving our soul parts, the true parts of our true essence, so that we're authentically empowered. The more we can do that, then the more we'll be able to hold space for somebody else to go on that journey themselves. Becoming ever more present and ever more in truth. So whichever modalities you are drawn to, work with them and know that that is only going to help you and support you in becoming a really good healer. You know, and I think that applies to everybody, that we're all eternally students of life. You know, we can never sit back and think, okay, I'm there now, I don't have to do any more. You know, unless you become enlightened, we're still learning, and it's good to spend a certain amount of time, I think, a certain amount of time working, a certain amount of time relaxing in leisure, and a certain amount of time in our own personal growth and advancement of ourselves and in the skills that we offer as healers. So that's the first point, to be on our own path of awakening, self-awareness, healing. Then the second point is to really make sure that we walk our talk. So look at your daily habits. What do you do on a daily basis? What are your routines? What kind of activities and practices do you do on a daily basis? How is your sleep? Exercise, the time that you spend in nature, time spent in silence. You know, sometimes people have very busy lives. It's important to have some time in silence. If you spend a lot of time in silence, then it might be good to balance that up with some time being sociable and around others. And look at your relationships. How are they? How harmonious? How healthy? How authentic are your relationships? And also the company you keep, because by a process of osmosis, the kind of people that we spend time with, their energy is going to rub off on us. So yeah, whoever we spend time with, their energy will rub off on us. So it's important to be discerning who you spend time with, who you choose to spend time with, and also how much stress you allow in your life. Stress can become habit, and so it's a good idea to, you know, be aware of how we allow stress to come in, and how do we actually take care of ourselves so that we don't become overly stressed. Also looking at, what do you consume? So what do you consume in the way of your diet, in the way of television, media, social media, and books? So are you taking in and consuming what you know to be good for you, to be healthy? Is it really worthy of your time and energy, or is there a lot of kind of just scrolling through a load of stuff that's perhaps not so helpful, you know, a lot of kind of celebrity gossip, for example, or something like that, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, how much time do you allow for that? Because some people say, oh, I don't get time to meditate, but they do somehow find the time to scroll through a load of nonsense on social media. So it's good to be honest with ourselves. Of course, sometimes we need to kick back and relax, but just be aware of what you're taking in. You know, if there's lots of news headlines, a lot of that can tend to be quite negative, quite fear-based. So, you know, I've had it before when I've been meditating. If I've been watching Breaking Bad, for example, and then I find when I'm meditating and I'm just seeing lots of kind of guns and baddies and stuff like that. So it does come into our consciousness, you know. So that's just something to be aware of. Because it all rubs off on us. It becomes who we are, and then that is the transmission that we offer our clients. So you know, the more refined our energy field, the more healthy our lifestyle, the more healthy we will transmit to our clients. Because on some level, our thoughts, our intentions, our well-being, that is going to be sensed and received by our clients on some level. So it's really worth having a look at how much you really walk your talk in terms of all of the things I've been describing. Walking our talk. It's because very often we'll give people good advice in the sessions about their lifestyle. So we need to, you know, examine ourselves and say, okay, you know, is that how am I doing what I advise, or am I just advising others to do that and then just slumping in front of Netflix with a cigarette and a bottle of whiskey or something? I mean, I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean. So it's we need to walk our talk. Number 3, these aren't in any particular order necessarily. Number 3 is to be deeply compassionate. Deeply compassionate. So we can easily be compassionate towards somebody that we like, but it's more challenging to be compassionate towards somebody who we find irritating, who presses our buttons, who in some way we might be offended by something we notice about them, about the way they speak, about something they you know, share. And so it's a good practice as a healer to always remain indiscriminately compassionate. And remember that, you know, we learn lots of different healing techniques, but in the end, it's love that heals. Love is the healer. So how much love can you bring through your touch, your eyes, your words, your presence? By being non-judgmental and being indiscriminately compassionate for whatever arises in the session, for yourself as a healer, for the person that you're with, and for anything that arises, anything that you sense in their energy field, anything that you perceive may have happened to them, just holding space for it. Because sometimes you might deal with some heavy stuff. You know, people might have been in abusive relationships. They might have done some kind of crimes. And so I find it helpful just to, you know, really see them as a courageous soul, a luminous being of light. They come for healing. And even if people have done something terrible, you know, I guess that's tends to be, I find it helpful to see that as being through their ignorance or through their own conditioning. Perhaps they had something, they received some kind of violence, and so then they became violent because that's what they'd learned. So, you know, that's really where compassion comes in and is really needed. It's also important not to pity somebody, because as soon as we pity somebody, then we're making them into a victim. So a courageous soul, a being of light, I find is the best way to look at people. And yeah, and so we need to kind of walk this this sword of being with empathy and compassion, and yet not falling into getting overly involved in the story so that we end up getting upset or getting spooked or creeped out or crying ourselves or something like that, getting overly emotional. So there's a line of being compassionate and empathizing, but also keeping a little bit of distance so that we don't become overly intimate or overly involved. So we're thoroughly present with them, but we're not kind of falling into the story and getting emotional about it. Now, if I ever find, we're all human, if I ever find that I become, that I do judge somebody, say somebody says something sexist and it provokes me, then I'll catch myself and just in my internally, I will tend to use the Ho'oponopono. So you might have heard of this. It's a Hawaiian prayer. And we say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. And we say that with the intention of clearing that particular story, that particular frequency of energy, as in the judgment that we brought to that story and whatever energy that story brought up in us and the story itself. But I wouldn't say that out loud, I would say that internally. Now, when I say indiscriminately compassionate and to be loving, this also includes having strong boundaries. So I don't think that love means that we don't have a strong boundary. I think that would be a misconception. So love includes truth and includes healthy boundaries, which I'll come to in a moment, a bit more about that. So we need to be grounded. So when I mean grounded, I mean that we're really in our bodies and we're connected to the earth energetically. We're anchored on the earth. If somebody's really ungrounded and they're a bit all over the place and they put their hands on you to do a healing, it won't feel good. And if anybody's, they might even just, recoil and want you to take your hands off. So it's really important to be grounded, and the more grounded we are, the more light we can channel, the more healing that can come through us. So it's really important to develop a grounding practice. And in module 1 of the course, we do a very profound alignment practice that roots us into the earth, as well as connecting us up to source through energy centers within our body. So that's what I then, I do that before I do a healing, and I get all of the students to do it as a healer's preparation. So before you put your hands on anybody, you do this alignment process to make sure you're grounded, you're present, and you're connected to source, connected to your spirit guides and angels. You've got a good, strong boundary in place. And then you set the intention, and then you put your hands on someone. So it's really, it's not just a matter of somebody comes in and straight away you just plonk your hands on. I think it's really, really beneficial to do a preparation practice. And also just having practices like this in your life. Some people are naturally more grounded than others. I'm a Taurian. I tend to be quite a grounded person. But some people are much more ethereal and floaty, and so even more important for them. And it can be really good to do some kind of practice, ideally a daily practice or several times a week, something like Qigong, Tai Chi, yoga, dancing, some kind of sport or martial arts. That you bring presence to, an exercise which involves physical activity with movement and breath. So those kinds of activities will help you to be more in your body, and then they also strengthen our etheric body. So they help us to be more sensorially aware, more aware with our senses. So there's lots of good reasons to practice activities like that. Trampolining is my latest favorite one. Nice and easy. But also, you know, I mean, who doesn't enjoy it? Well, most people enjoy dancing or some other kind of activity. So make it something you enjoy as well, you know, because that's, you know, that's always important, to do something that we really enjoy. Then we're more likely to do it often. Hi, thanks for joining. Okay, so now we come to number 5, which is embodied wisdom. So the wounded healer is an expression that people often use, which means that it's an archetype that fits a mythological story. So know that all of the healing that you do on your own wounds can become alchemized into wisdom, so that you can hold space for others. So, you know, I remember somebody saying to me once, "Oh, how can you be a healer when you've got issues?" And I said, "Well, you know, how could I not have issues, being human? And also, if we, you know, by having wounds, we can work on those things, and then that is the transmission that we offer others. And especially if we really come through it, we come out the other side. So in the same way that, you know, somebody who is a bereavement counselor is going to most likely be somebody who's experienced bereavement. You know, how can you hold space for somebody who's going through bereavement if you've never known that? You know, and somebody who's a drug counselor is going to tend to have been through some kind of drug rehabilitation themselves. You know, yeah, some kind of, the experiences that we have help us. It doesn't have to be the exact same ones, but just having gone through some kind of process of loss and then healing from that and moving forwards. Those kinds of, or abuse or trauma, and being able to have processed your own personal experience of trauma, that's going to help you to hold space for others. So it's really okay. But of course, what's important is not to turn the session into all about you. You know, you know, you've got to keep focused on the fact that it's a session for your client, but know that your own experiences and your own healing processes are going to actually become really potent part of your training, if you like. You know, everything that I've been through in my life that was a really difficult experience, from sexual abuse, from narcissistic abuse, unhealthy relationships, drug and alcohol issues, bereavement. I lost my father at a young age, losing a baby. Like all of these things, even though they're immensely challenging at the time, but by having moved through them, we can then speak from, people say, speak from your scars, not your wounds. So that we're not, you know, in a place, we're not in a place of trauma now. We've moved through it so that we can actually be on the other side of it and in a really strong place to support others. So really know that those can actually become our specialities, you know, because often that's the way, and sometimes it will just happen naturally. You'll tend to attract clients that have been through similar issues that you have, and then other times it just becomes obvious that that's something that you can literally advertise and say that these are your specialisms because of what you've been through yourself and what you've managed to heal and transform and alchemize within yourself. Now, a really important aspect of being a healer is to be present, to really listen to people. It can be immensely healing. Lots of people don't really get fully listened to because often in conversations, people are half listening whilst they are looking at their phone, or they're making their dinner, or they're thinking about what's on telly later, or they're thinking about what they're going to bring to the conversation, instead of really, really listening to people. So presence is incredibly healing, and it creates safety. By being really grounded, present, and compassionate, somebody's going to feel safe. It will just happen in their body language. You know, you'll be able to see that they just relax. What can help to do that, I find, is the chats that we have at the beginning of the session before you actually move into the healing. So that's an opportunity to develop rapport, to develop trust by being very sincere, very honest. And from a relation point of view, it's helpful if you don't sit directly opposite to them. If you position your chairs or where you're sitting and you're looking directly at each other, it might feel a bit confrontational, like they're being interrogated. So what's nicer is if you position your cushions or your chairs so that they are sort of beside each other and looking towards a view. So you're kind of looking out, perhaps you could be looking towards a window, to a nice picture that's got a view, to the altar, to some flowers, maybe a nice altar with a candle, so that you're not sitting side by side, but you're at an angle and you're looking. They've got a wall behind them, a solid wall behind them, so they feel supported. So rather than we'll come into this in a moment, the feng shui of the room, have something attractive to be looking at. Because I know when I've been to have sessions with a healer or a counsellor or something, and if there's a nice picture, you can or a nice view out of a window or a nice altar to look at, you can be looking at the nice view while you're searching through your memories and thinking what to bring forwards to the session. So that can just help. So that brings me to the next point, which is about creating a beautiful sacred healing space. So it doesn't matter how simple it is. And it might be that you've got a specially dedicated healing room. It might be in a healing center, or it might be your living room. But what's important is that you make it like a sanctuary for that particular session. So it could be very simple, but make it appropriate. So number one, make sure that it's clutter-free and it's clean. So just basics there. So you want it to be physically clean as well as energetically clean. See if you can feng shui the room. So you want to locate, if you're working on a healing table or you're working on a futon on the floor, you want to position it so that ideally their head is pointing towards a solid wall. Just like you would with a bed in a bedroom. You don't really want to have their head pointing towards the door or in line with the door, because or even a window if possible, because it can make somebody feel a little bit insecure about what's going on behind them. And the same with where their feet are pointing. You don't want that to point towards a window or straight towards a door, because that can feel a bit vulnerable. Who's going to come in, especially for a woman who's lying there with her legs out. Like, you don't want somebody to come in right where your feet are. So try to have the bed or the futon or the table positioned so that you've got your head against a solid wall. And if you were to sit up on that futon or that bed, you've got a clear view of the windows and the doors ahead of you, and you've got this nice solid wall behind you. So just do the best you can with the space that you've got. And you'll probably just intuitively, if you look at the room and think, if I was to put a bed in here, where would I put the bed? Where would the bed feel most cozy and safe and protected? Knowing that a doorway will bring a chi flow, will bring movement, and there'll be movement between doorways. So that becomes a bit like a corridor of chi flowing. So you want to have the head of the bed away from the chi flow as much as possible. Make sure that they're going to be warm and that the room is ventilated enough. So depending on the climate and the weather, you want to make sure that there's some fresh air in there. You might want to use some incense or some nice scented spray. Obviously natural stuff, not perfumey things. And I would always create some kind of altar. So that can be very simple, just a candle on a cloth, or you might want to have crystals, flowers, little pictures of aspects of deities or gurus that you connect with, whatever helps you feel that it's a sacred space, but also making sure that it feels like a sacred space to your clients coming in. So I tend to have pictures from all different spiritual traditions that I connect to, but that also kind of handily makes it appropriate for whoever comes, because there'll be something in the room that they can connect to. So it's not just one particular spiritual idea. Say, for example, if it was only Buddhist, then if somebody's a Hindu or a Christian, they might feel a little bit like, oh, is there anything here that I can connect to? So you might want to bear that in mind. But generally, just having the room so it looks nice and feels really nice as they come in, it's going to feel appropriate. Fresh flowers are always nice, and I always like to light a candle, open up a sacred space at the beginning, and then close the space at the end with a prayer of gratitude as you blow the candle out at the end. And it's very important to make sure that you're not going to be disturbed. So somebody doesn't want to be in a deep, vulnerable state, and then somebody comes running in, or the phone goes, you answer it and start chatting on the phone or something. So it's kind of obvious, but make sure that the phone is switched off or silent, as well as their phone. And you might need to put a note on the door. I do that sometimes. I've got a really loud doorbell, so I put a note on the door, writing a note just saying, session in progress, please don't ring the doorbell, come back at this time, whatever. And also, space clearing the room is a really good idea between sessions. So when one client has arrived and they've kind of allowed a whole load of their process to unfold in the space, and then when they leave, it's a really good idea to cleanse the space energetically before they come, so they come into a nice cleansed space, and then after they've gone, to clear away and whatever of their energy is dissipated into the space. So give it a good cleanse in between clients. I always remove the bedding and give fresh bedding for a new client, so that I change the pillowcase, the sheet, blanket, make sure everything's fresh and new for the next client. Now, if you're the sort of person that does lots of people in one day with short sessions, you might have a kind of a paper roll that you put over the bed in between clients. I know that some practitioners do that, but definitely have a system that you use that keeps the place really nice and fresh and clean and clear. Healing is a sacred act and needs a sacred space. So it's also going to be important to have some kind of spiritual connection, whether that is simply connecting to the powers of love and light when you're opening up a space, or whether you're really calling in the directions, calling in a specific religious pantheon, or angels, ascended masters, power animals, deities, lamas, source, great mystery, but make it sincere, so it's what you really, really connect with, and you've got a true and deep connection with whatever you're invoking, with whatever you're calling in. And if it's gurus, just as a side note, if it's a human teacher, then do be discerning, remembering that they're all human, and power can corrupt. There's been all kinds of cases of spiritual teachers who've become corrupt, so we do need to be discerning with those. So now this brings us to being safe and trustworthy. Be trustworthy. So being grounded, authentic, and honest. Setting clear, appropriate boundaries will help to create safety as well. Remember that you are healing somebody's inner child, as well as their adult self. You could have some great big strapping guy on the healing table, on the healing mat, and when he's going through a process of healing his inner child. So we always hold space for somebody with the same amount of care as if you had a little baby lying there, because you're actually connecting to that person at all ages, or there was a grandparent lying there. So holding people with real gentleness and real care. And on a soul level, they are all of these ages. And this is also really another reason why it's very important to have sexual integrity, because we're holding space for somebody and doing healings on people for their inner child. And so it's very important to have sexual integrity, which I'll mention a bit more about in a moment. So it's important to be boundaried and professional. So be professional and demonstrate your integrity. It's important to have professional insurance. I'm insured with a company called Balens, B-A-L-E-N-S, in the UK. And this means that, yeah, you're insured just in case, you know, just in case something happened that you needed to have some kind of legal protection for. So that's really important for your sake and for your client's sake, just to make sure that you're insured. Dress appropriately. So wear something that's clean, that's modest, and really that you feel comfortable in. I tend to always wear something white or cream in color. I just feel it reflects very nicely. It reflects energy away, and it helps me to feel that I'm now going into sacred space. I'm in my healing mode, healer's mode. And also for my clients coming, they look at me and they'll think, okay, yes, this is a healer. So if I'm dressed, you know, I've sometimes had students turn up in very sexy outfits. They've worn their most sexiest white outfit, and you know, had to say, okay, you know, it's not a good idea, because, you know, they've got all this sexy underwear showing and stuff, and it's like, you know, you want the session to be about the person just really going within, rather than them being distracted by what the healer's wearing, or, you know, they're wearing a really short skirt and then they've got to cross their legs and they're showing their knickers and things like that. So it's always a good idea to wear something that's loose, comfortable, and modest. You know, you don't want to be arousing your sexual attention from the clients. Not if it's, you know, I mean, maybe if it's a tantric sexual thing, that's a whole different matter. But when I'm talking about doing shamanic energy healing, that's my speciality, and that's what I'm talking about in this situation. Yeah, and also if you look like too out there, like if you've got like a headdress on and you've got you know, all this like really fancy outfits on, it might look a bit like fancy dress to somebody who's not used to that kind of outfit, and so it might make them feel a bit uncomfortable. And in the same way that if you look like you're going to a nightclub or you're going down the pub, then it might just feel a bit unprofessional, and it might make them not feel so safe. Because if people feel safe, then they let go. If people feel safe, they let go, they surrender, and the healing happens really easily. If they're a little bit spooked by you, the space, what you're wearing, something like that, then they're going to tend to tense up, and the healing's not going to flow very well. So keep remembering, it's all about safety. So time and money. Before the session happens, before they even come to your place, or before you set up the Zoom session, make sure that it's very clear what the price is, so that they know how long it's going to be. Are they paying, is that the amount that you charge per hour, or is that for the whole session? You know, I went for a session once and I thought it was for the whole session, and then she charged me 3 times that amount, kind of thing, at the end. So we need to be very, very clean and clear about Things like also about policies to do with cancellations. If you have it there in your booking form, in your small print, it's very clean and clear, and that helps people to be more boundaried and to respect your boundaries, so people don't just not turn up and just cancel at the last minute. It's like, no, that it's very clean and clear that what the refund policy is, this is what the pricing is, so people know where they stand. Have an intake form. So I find it really helpful to have a form that asks people to give me their medical history, if they're on any medication, what are the significant traumas they've experienced in their lives, what patterns and issues tend to recur in their lives, and what's the reason for them coming to the session. So that gives me a good bit of background material to ask them questions about. I mean, there's more questions I put in there, but that's the kind of the main ones. And it's a good idea to have a name and number that can be contacted in an emergency. And if you have any kind of concerns about the person for their safety or for other people's safety, it's a good idea to get the name and number of their doctor. Touch. So let them know how a typical session unfolds, and establish whether they're comfortable with you placing your hands on their body. Explain that you don't touch their private parts. I show them any tools that I use, and mention any other techniques I might use. So for example, I might say, okay, this is my extraction tool. So you might feel me placing this crystal here or working with this particular tool here. I'm going to place my hands. Is it okay if I place my hands like that? So you've asked beforehand, and they get to say yes or no. So if they say yes, that's fine. Then you've got their permission, and you can crack on. If they say, oh, I'm not very comfortable with hands anywhere near my neck, it's like in advance, so they're not lying there feeling uncomfortable. And it's very empowering for somebody to state a boundary and to have that respected. So you must remember and respect whatever they've asked you. And if you're going to do some advanced shamanic techniques like blowing a soul part back into somebody's body, or blowing a power animal into their body, so you need to make sure they're okay with that. Or using the sucking extraction, are you okay if I do that? That it's quite intimate, and so some people are absolutely fine, and other people will be like, oh, hang on, I need to know a bit more about that, and just establish find a way of being able to do the work in a way that they feel completely comfortable. And of course, this is it's important for everybody, but it's especially important if anybody has experienced any kind of trauma or abuse. Then it could re-traumatize somebody just receiving a healing session. So we want to be very, very careful that they're going to feel better after the session, and they're not going to feel re-traumatized or triggered in any way like that. And it's our responsibility to take care of these things. We can't expect our clients to necessarily tell us in advance. We've got to make sure. And that's the same with sexual integrity. So don't flirt or become intimate or sexual with somebody during or after a healing session. I mean, it might sound like it's obvious, but I have, sometimes had issues with participants at retreats, or even students getting carried away in these situations, and having to say, it muddies the lines between being a safe pair of hands, being a space holder, and being an adult lover. And it's just not appropriate. And it's up to the healer, the person doing the healer, the facilitator, to set the safe boundary. Because I've had some people say before, oh, it wasn't my idea, it was her idea. And, say it was a man saying, oh, well, it was her idea, she wanted to sleep together. And it's like, well, that's not the point. The point is, you are the caretaker, you set the boundary, and we're all human. If you both like each other, just say, okay, It's not healthy in the context of a healing session or just after a healing session, because I've been holding space for your inner child healing. But what we can do is make an appointment to meet up in 2 weeks, give it a couple of weeks break. And then in 2 weeks' time, if we still feel like we want to meet up, let's go on a date. Not anything to do with the healing session. We just meet up as individuals and go on a date. And if somebody's a teacher or a facilitator on other kinds, on some other kinds of is a facilitator or a teacher, then it needs to be even longer. Some say 3 months, some say 6 months. So that's something to be careful of. If you find that you're having any kind of sexual thoughts or sexual energy arising during a session, then you can use your breath, your intention. You can either raise that energy up from the lower chakras, bringing it up to your higher chakras, circulating it around your body, or you can ground it down into the earth. So there's no need to feel shame, or that wouldn't be a good idea. That's just another heavy energy. So it's not about feeling shame, but it's just being appropriate and responsible with that, so that we are holding a really safe space for the healing. Presence is essential. So if you lose your center and you drift off at any point, remove your hands, come back to your alignment, ground yourself, come back to presence, and then continue. Sometimes it can be helpful to have a spray beside you, a nice cleansing spray. I use that through the session for my hands and my tools, and that can also be nice to be able to mist yourself. Sometimes it's nice to mist the person, but mist yourself, have a drink of water, ground, and then carry on. You might want to say a little Ho'oponopono internally and come back to it. Observe discretion and confidentiality. So so obviously we don't. There was a comedy sketch, wasn't there, of somebody who was a counsellor, and then after each session he'd get on the phone to his mate and gossip about what they were confiding in him. But obviously we need to be very respectful and treat everything as confidential. And not gossip about it with other people we know. Just be very, 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 very aware of that, because it's extremely, can be extremely upsetting. And I've heard about it really causing trouble between certain people and friendships when some kind of confidentiality and discretion, they felt it wasn't observed. And it's really caused real problems, because people feel they've been betrayed, or a certain violation of their privacy has taken place. The only context where it's okay to talk about it, and obviously not in a gossipy way, but in a way is if you're concerned for somebody's safety or somebody else's safety. If somebody's talking about self-harming or about harming somebody else, then in that context, it is our duty of care to talk to somebody about it. So it can be helpful to talk to our personal mentor, to talk to inform their doctor, for example, or social services, because that's something we don't want to have the burden of responsibility with us just being with ourselves. So it's a good idea to encourage people like that to have more than one healer that they speak to, and to reach out to a healthcare professional like their doctor to help with that, because it's too much for us to just have all of that burden of responsibility with us. 2 more points. One is to be aware of the power of words. The power of words. So our words as a healer can either bless or curse somebody. It can land like a bit of a curse. We can curse ourselves and others. So choose to speak to people in a way that is positively inspiring and encouraging. So for example, after the session, people can often be very keen to say, oh, what did you see in my energy field? And you wouldn't say something like, oh, I saw this really dark, scary, ugly energy going on in your heart, but I've removed it now, it's okay. You know, you wouldn't say that because they're likely going to kind of forget about the bit about it's okay now, and they're going to be going, what do you mean there was something dark and ugly and awful in my heart, you know? And so that can then send somebody away thinking about that, and they're feeding some kind of story. So it'd be much better to say something like, oh, I was cleansing, I sensed an energy block and I've cleansed that, and I really saw your heart filling up with light and love and unity and shining out with this beautiful green light, you know. So you slightly mention the energy block and then really go into a lovely description of how now it's really shining. Oh yeah, your solar plexus, there was a bit of a block there, or stagnant energy, or a bit of heavy energy, but now it's really shining out with golden light, and I could really sense your clarity and your confidence increasing, you know, something like that. So to give them like, oh, that's nice, and that's the story they go away with, you know. So that's really, really important, because just in the way that people can, you know, they really trust a doctor. And so if a doctor tells someone they've only got 3 months to live, people say that's a bit like a death sentence, and you'd be better off. There's a story of somebody, I don't know if it's just one of these tales that goes around, somebody that they couldn't hear what the doctor said. They didn't have a hearing aid in, and they didn't hear him say to the person, you've only got 3 months to live. And so the doctor was surprised to bump into them 2 years later, and said, oh, I'm surprised to see you here. And they said, oh, I didn't have my hearing aids in last time I saw you. So you know, people are very suggestible. They may look, and words that you speak will stay with them. So be very aware of the words that you're using. And from a legal point of view, you need to be careful as well, because I heard about a case of someone in America who said that she saw a rat in somebody's energy field, and they got successfully sued a lot of money. So we always remember that whatever we see in somebody's energy field is just our own intuition, our guides helping us to detect what kind of energy needs to be released, or, you know, what's going on there. So it's a metaphor. We might see a metaphor of a rat, or of chains, or of stagnant sewers, but it's not literal. It's a metaphor that helps us to connect with what's going on in their energy field. So be very careful that your words don't run away with you, and that we're leaving a healing story, a story that's a blessing, and can help. You know, that in itself can be very can really be beautiful for people. You know, I've seen it, people's eyes light up and they have a kind of spring in their stride when they go out the door, because they've just heard who their power animal is, and and they're feeling, you know, that optimism, and it really can do a lot of good. And finally, the attributes of a healer is to practice self-care. So you know, if we keep giving and giving and giving, we can end up getting overtired, we can get drained, we can lose our presence, we can end up not being able to give such a good healing to subsequent clients. We might start to pick up energy off people because we're not being very present and boundaried as we could be, and we can end up getting sick ourselves. So make sure that you take time out to relax, to have fun, to enjoy yourself, to regenerate, to cleanse. Have salt baths. I don't have a salt bath now because I live in an apartment with a shower. But if you do have a bath, lucky you, have a nice salt bath and a good soak in it. Otherwise, we can swim in the sea, or get some salt in a flannel and give ourselves a good scrub down with that. Remember to hydrate. It's very important to eat and to rest well. And also, I would say, have regular healing sessions yourself, either from one of your colleagues or from somebody completely different from your own personal friendship network, who you just really trust, and you know that they do really good work, to make sure that you are nice and clean and clear. So, any questions? Anything anybody wants to share about all of those points I just made? Oh, we've got somebody coming in the room now. Okay, so I must have explained it all very well. Or maybe you knew it all already. So I hope it's been helpful, and yeah, and that it's not coming across too severe, that it's just, you know, that it's just a reminder of that we're aware of all of these things because it's helpful. So I'd like to now screen share this a little chat about the course that I'm going to be offering. Can you see my screen? Should say Powerful Healing Techniques. Yeah? Yeah, good. So, oh, that's not the first one. Here we go. Become a shamanic practitioner and energy healer. So this is a training that I run every year. And because of everything that's been going on in the world, it's now a hybrid of online and in-person teachings. So the actual accredited course is fully online with some in-person options. So yeah, become a healer. So these are the powerful techniques that you will be able to facilitate. And this is in the 6-month practitioner training. So there's shamanic journeying, infusion, extraction, sound healing, alignment with synchronicity, power animal retrieval, organ and spine regeneration, ancestral healing, and cleaning relationship cords. So that's a real potent toolbox of different techniques that you'll be able to facilitate just through the first 6 modules of the practitioner course. So the first one, infusion and shamanic journeying. So this is about learning how to offer hands-on healing sessions or online healing sessions, or to be able to do them remotely. You can infusing either energy from the earth, which helps to ground people and get their energy moving, or heavenly energies, filling them up with light. And we're working with the 7 main chakras that help to relate to all the experiences that we go through in life. And then we learn shamanic journeying to connect and receive wisdom and medicine from our spirit guides. Somebody's making noises. There we go. So yeah, and that will also then mean that you can do a diagnostic journey when you come to do a healing session for somebody. You can do a diagnostic journey at the beginning of the session and see what your spirit guides bring through as to what would be the best technique to use, or what's going on with this person that perhaps hasn't been shared that you need to be aware of. So these are the fundamental tools of shamanic healing and energy healing. And this is all in module 1, which is also a standalone course in itself as a foundation module. And this can be a nice idea for somebody who wants to perhaps do the foundation and just dip their toe into this kind of healing and see if it's right for them before they commit to a longer course. Then we got module 2, which is extraction. So as we're infusing earth energy, naturally energy is going to be coming out to be extracted. So this is the kind of energy that is baggage, we sometimes call it. So it might be repressed or stagnant emotions, old energies that we've been dragging around for a long time, or that we've inherited from our ancestral lines that doesn't even belong to us, or even stories that we brought from other lifetimes. So we also look at the 7 layers of the aura, the etheric, emotional, mental, astral, template, celestial and causal bodies, seeing how we've got the 7 chakras, and then we've got these 7 layers of the energy body coming out making up the aura, which are not only outside the body but inside the body as well, and each layer is just extends out a little further. So this is something that we become aware of when we're doing our healing sessions. The next technique is sound healing. So we work with our voices primarily and discover what a powerful healing tool our voices are, so that they can be used as a precision instrument, because we can channel so much love with our voices, and we can make sounds that help the extractions to come out, that meet that energy, and then sounds that help to strengthen the chakras and the auric field as well. So sound is really a very strong ally. And you can't tone out of tune, so you don't have to feel any kind of nervousness as to whether you're going to be able to use your voice. Alignment with synchronicity and power retrieval, restoring your clients' alignment with the earth and the cosmos, their true self, their life purpose and soul's path in life. So this is the alignment process that I described at the beginning, that we use as our healer's preparation, but there's a way that we can also help somebody else to come into this alignment in a really deep and profound way that helps them to be in the right place at the right time, to really come into alignment with their true path. So it's a very beautiful and amazing to see how somebody's life can change very rapidly after those sessions. And then power animal retrieval, bringing back a spirit guide that can restore someone's unique gifts and medicine in the form of a power animal. So the animals come because they reflect to us a kind of medicine that we need in our lives, or that we have within us, and it just needs some coaxing to be more fully expressed and lived. So that can be very empowering, or it is very empowering. Organ cleaning and spine regeneration. So this is a technique that works with the 5 elements, and we work with the main organs of the body, where we can have repressed energy can get stagnant. So for example, emotions such as anger in the liver, hatred in the heart, stress in the stomach, grief in the lungs, fear in the kidneys. And then we encourage more balance, so that by helping to cleanse those organs, we can develop more kindness, more joy, calm, courage, and trust. Trust in the kidneys, courage in the lungs, calm in the stomach, joy in the heart, kindness in the liver. And then by working on all those organs, it then naturally allows more of our love and joy to be expressed in the heart. And then by helping somebody with their spine and the whole nervous system, that helps people to be more upright in the world. And lots of people have back issues, which can be helped with this treatment. And then finally, relationship cords. So we clean, rather than having the idea of cutting relationship cords. Barbara Brennan teaches to clean the relationship cords, because otherwise they tend to just reform anyway. So we can clean the relationships, for example, between somebody and their parents or their caregivers, significant others, siblings, people at work, anybody that they might have an issue with, or their an ex-partner or something, even people who are in spirit. And also with things. So as an example, someone's relationship with abundance. So this helps the relationships to be more light, more harmonious, more free. And that can also be very significant in terms of healing ancestral lines. As we heal our own relationships, it also helps the next generations and the children. So it's all facilitated by myself and my team. I've got 3 decades of experience as a healer. I've taught and facilitated healing with thousands of people, and I've done a lot of training with different teachers, so that's given me a lot of experience of how other teachers work, and countless ceremonial experiences with different tribes and spiritual traditions from around the world. So I've really embodied a lot of different cultures and techniques. and sacred space and magical healing rituals. And yeah, so I've been through the process myself of coming from a very broken place of really needing a lot of healing, and coming to a place of feeling more and more fulfilled and empowered, being able to step up as a healer and step into my role as a teacher. And I've also really experienced all of those challenges that you can meet along the way. Healing didn't come easily to me because I had a lot of trust issues. So I really had to go through those. It took me quite a while to really get out of my own way and let the healing come through. And I, would never have dreamt that I was going to become a teacher one day. But I think that this has helped me to have a lot of empathy for people who struggle at different times, and to be able to encourage them to have a breakthrough, whatever might be coming up for them that they imagine is holding them back. So my teaching style is to be very open, very compassionate. I'm very motherly, but I'm also, you can look at the testimonials, what the other students have to say. I'm also very open and like to be very like a friend, really, just walking beside you, helping you along in your journey to becoming the healer. And because of my own mistakes and struggles along the way, I can be a shortcut for somebody to have this fast track opportunity to becoming a modern shaman, a shamanic practitioner. Now, alongside the online course, there are optional ceremony retreats. So these are opportunities to come together in Spain, Portugal, or the UK for 5 whole days of being on retreat together. So you give healings, you receive lots of healings, and we work in ceremony. So it's also a beautiful time to be together as a community. So the next one is in December in the Algarve, and the one after that in next May is going to be in Wales in the UK. So what's unique about this course and why you'll love it? It weaves together shamanic healing and energy healing, like 2 courses in one, with a hybrid of online and in-person training, the best of both worlds. You will gain a comprehensive and magical toolbox of healing skills. Since the certification is online, it's a fast-track training. It used to take 2 or 3 years to do the whole course, whereas now 1 module per month, it's a fast track, and it's never going to be restricted or delayed by any kind of lockdowns if there's any more of those. Everybody receives a monthly 90-minute personal tuition session where you practice the technique on somebody in person in your own home, whilst I witness the session via Zoom, and then I can give you guidance and feedback and support your progress and confidence. I don't know any other online course that offers that level of support. It's every module you get that. You have supervised exchanges of distant healings in the live monthly classes, so you get to be really confident at these, and it means you can offer your healing sessions to people all around the world. People have got much more used to this kind of session since all the lockdowns. Since you receive a healing in each session exchange, at least 2 a month, you also have the opportunity for phenomenal personal healing and transformation, so that you're an inspiration to others as to the effectiveness of the healing techniques. We also share, myself and the team, we share our experiences and guidance on how to build, grow and run a professional business as a healing practitioner. You will become part of a close tribe of trusted friends for life. And that's very beautiful to witness just how strong the friendships become through the trainings, and they really are friends for life. You receive one-to-one supervision and mentoring with myself and the Modern Shaman team. You will have the support of the group between modules in the online community, Telegram group, and a monthly sharing circle. So once every 6 months, you get a 1 hour mentoring session from me. That's on top of the monthly ones that you get. And then you also get one every 3 months with one of the team, another mentoring session. So there's lots of support there. The course is accredited by the IPHM, the International School of Holistic Practitioners, so that you can get professional insurance and display your certificate. At the end of the 6 months, you could always, you can choose to continue with the advanced training if you would like to, or you can say, you know, obviously just stop there with the practitioner course, or you can come back another year and do the advanced training if that suited you better. And you can always come back to attend our ceremony retreats, which are held twice a year to receive and facilitate deep healing and gather together in community. So that is a lovely opportunity for a reunion. And also here we are at a festival in the UK in the summer. So we also get together, I'm hoping to do a couple of festivals next year, where we gather and offer free healing sessions as we get free ticket to get to the festival, and then we can offer free healing sessions to members of the public who want to come and have a taster session. So that was a lovely thing to do together, and to be able to meet up and enjoy the festivals together as well. So FAQs, can I spread the fees over more payments? Yes, you can pay monthly payments. They need to be in advance. And this is the course fee, 2,550, or monthly payments of 450. Is the course accredited? Yes, by the IPHM. And what happens if I miss a live weekend training? So sometimes somebody might have a family wedding, some reason why they can't possibly attend. And so I've set this up so that people can still complete the whole course. So I video the live teaching sessions, and so you can watch those and then book a private tuition class. So they're $120 an hour, and they usually takes 2 hours. So in this time, you're going to check that you understand the technique, and then you will carry out a distant healing on one of your course colleagues with my guidance. And this also applies to module 1 if you can't make module 1. So, are you ready to take this life-changing adventure as a shamanic practitioner and energy healer? It would be my honor and delight to support you through that journey if that is of interest to you. So, thank you so much for listening, for joining. And Lucilia, you're with us for this foundation weekend?
Yes, yes. I'll be here for the weekend. I'm looking forward to, yeah.
Yeah, great, great. Looking forward to it too. So glad that you managed to join tonight. And is there any questions you got?
Oh, not yet.
Okay.
They will share along the process.
Exactly, that's fine. So yeah, so if you think of any questions, just write them down and you can bring them to the session. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, lovely. And Anya, do you have any questions? Not sure if you can hear me there. Okay. Oh, we got one in the chat. Oh yeah, thank you. I have to go to my daughter's bedtime. Glad to catch the final part. Okay, that's good. Okay, so Sophia, I don't think there's anything else I need to add right now. Do you?
I don't think so in this moment, no.
Thank you so much for joining me as well. Sophia is my assistant, and so she's expert at technology and social media and all those kinds of things that I'm not very good at. That's a limiting belief. I'm getting better and better at all the time. So yeah, thank you so much for joining, and looking forward to seeing you this weekend. And anybody else who sees the video who may feel like joining us would be very welcome. Do get in touch as soon as possible, because as soon as you sign up, you can then receive the materials, the videos and the notes, so that you have time to watch them before the training starts this weekend. So thank you very much, and many blessings to you, lots of love, and see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye. Thank you.
Obrigada. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.